Hello, my name is Daniel Medina, and today we're going to look at the respiratory system. So, the main function of the respiratory system is to provide oxygen to the blood and cells of the body while removing carbon dioxide, which is a lethal gas in large quantities. And this task is done through breathing. So, the first organ we will encounter in the respiratory system would be right here, the nasal cavity. This would be the nasal cavity, and it is the main external opening of the respiratory system, and it is the first section of the body airway. The function of the nasal cavity is to warm, moisturize, and filter air that enters the body before it reaches the lungs. So we would encounter little hairs and mucus in the nasal cavity, which would prevent particles and other kinds of matter to reach the lungs, which could be very dangerous. Then we would find the epiglottis, which would be just about right here. This is the epiglottis, and the epiglottis is basically a flexible flap in the superior end of the larynx in the throat. And what it does is that it enables us to switch between letting air in the body and letting food in the body. So it would enable us to rotate between letting those two things in the body. So it would be kind of like a switch between the larynx and the esophagus. The larynx lets air in, the esophagus lets food into the body. So that's the epiglottis. Then we can encounter the trachea here. This is the trachea. Here's the trachea, and it is a wide hollow tube that connects the larynx to the bronchi of the lungs, and it provides airflow to the lungs and from the lungs. So the air would go out of the trachea, as well as into the trachea, into the lungs. So after the trachea comes these two guys right here that are called the bronchi. These are the bronchi tubes, and they are extensions from the trachea that provide airflow to and from the lungs as well. So it would also go into lungs and out of the lungs through the bronchi tubes. And they're very important in the gas exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Then there's the bronchioles, which are simply smaller divisions of the bronchi. So these here would be the bronchioles, and they will distribute air more easily throughout the whole lungs. So by being smaller, they're made of cartilage and they're more flexible, and they allow air to be distributed throughout the whole lungs much more easily. So they also have much more flexibility and contraction. So this way the air is distributed more efficiently. Then after the lungs come then after the bronchioles, come the alveoli. They're very small, and what they do is there's a site where the oxygen enters the blood, and the carbon dioxide is expelled. So they share a membrane with these things called the capillaries. These right here are the capillaries. These are the alveoli. And since they share a membrane, so there's a single membrane between them, they're allowed carbon dioxide and oxygen diffuse more easily. So carbon dioxide would exit from the blood, and oxygen would go in. And this happens very quickly, because as you inhale and exhale, this process is happening. So this way they filter the blood through the lungs. So because the red blood travel in these tiny capillaries, and as they pass through the lungs, they are filtered. And so basically that's the job of the lungs as a whole. They allow gas exchange because they allow the gas exchange because they contain these capillaries and alveoli that switch that allow the oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. Then there's also this organ, this muscle, that is called the diaphragm. and it allows it's the main muscle that is involved in the respiratory system, because as we inhale, it inflates like this, so it would go up, and as we exhale, it will deflate like this, so it will become flat. So this would be the diaphragm, and there's the respiratory system, and I hope that's helpful.